Good evening. I am going to be talking about the book that I chose to read, which was Daniel Dreisbach's book, Reading the Bible with the Founding Fathers. Now, this book covers many aspects of the spiritual basis for the founding of our nation. Specifically in chapter 7, Exalted Nation, Dreisbach prominently uses the verse Proverbs 14:34. That verse states, God devotion makes a country strong. God avoidance leaves people weak. He uses this as the backbone of how we were founded, on principles of righteousness or our sinful nature. He poses the question, what are the characteristics of righteousness or sinful nature? Now, this is posed all throughout his writing, and he spotlights what that entails. There's not a specific code that one must follow. There's not a step-by-step tutorial written out on how to form a righteous nation. But upon further investigation, there actually is. Whatever their views on Christian theology, whatever their opinions on the proper church-state arrangements, hardly anyone during the Revolutionary era doubted that religion, especially moral virtue, was important to the life of the new American Republic. Now, this was written in a book by Harris and Kidd in 2012. If we choose to follow the teachings of Christ, if we choose to follow the basic simple principles, you will see that there is, in fact, a handbook to follow. All throughout the Old Testament, we see how countries rose and countries fell. And basically, what made them rise and fall is they took their eyes off of Christ. They stopped following the principles. They stopped following moral virtues. They stopped following righteousness. And when you take your eyes off of Christ, you become more self-centered. And that's what you see throughout here. So we wanted to make sure that our nation was founded on biblical principles and that we had a moral fiber throughout our nation, that we had a moral code. In Psalm 9:17, we're told that the wicked shall be turned into hell in all nations that forget God. It doesn't get more cut and dry than that. It specifically says, when you turn your back on God, you will not prosper. You will not see your nation come to fruition. You will not be successful. In fact, you'll end up turning your back on God and you'll end up going to hell. I really don't think it can be cut and dry. I don't think it can be made more plain and clear. Reverend Samuel Cooper stated in a sermon, righteousness is one of the greatest politicians and the wisest principles that ever lived. Woven throughout the fabric of our nation were these principles, was righteousness. It was a common theme. George Washington wrote, righteousness exalted a nation, and this was written in a book by Avlon in 2017. The sentiments didn't end with Washington. We have Abigail Adams writing letters to her husband, John Adams, and stating, we need to make sure that we are with accordance with God, that we're aligned with God. Samuel Adams was fervent with how he wanted our nation to be ran. Patrick Henry was so outspoken that he was riding through the town. He was doing everything he could. There was countless others that knew above all else we needed to be a nation devoted to God in order to be a strong presence in the world. Throughout history, we see that, throughout the Bible, we see that people took their eyes off of God and they lost the basic principles of what they should be founded on. We see our nation and how we are today, and we know that we've taken our eyes off of the moral fibers of what our nation was. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness is there, yes, but we are also one nation founded under God. That is what is important. That is what this book, this chapter specifically talked about. Thank you.